Story 1. Knock before entering their rooms. Edit. Make sure they understand the significance of long-term consequences. Story 2. Make sure they have a positive male role model in their lives, whether it is a coach, mentor, uncle, grandpa, or family friend. Someone they can look up to as an example as they grow into young men themselves. There are things that a mother will never understand and he will never share with a girl, even his mother. You need to be mentally prepared for this inevitability and accept it. The best way to help him in these situations is to ensure he has a man in his life whom he feels safe opening up to and who can relate to his experience. Story 3. Testicular pain is an emergency. It should be presumed to be testicular torsion until proven otherwise. Testicular torsion may require emergency surgery within a few hours to save the testicle. As boys grow older, they may be reluctant to tell their mother about such pain. When they are young, teach them to communicate openly about medical issues. Torsion is uncommon but must be taken seriously. Story 4. In dating, make sure they understand that they should feel as safe as they are supposed to make others feel. Their boundaries are just as important as the other person's, and make sure he knows how to say no. In general, make sure he has a good social network of friends. Feeling lonely during his developmental years can be emotionally crippling. Story 5. This may sound unusual, but if you can find a way to teach him how to responsibly use physical force, I recommend encouraging your son to defend himself physically when he feels it is necessary and how to do so responsibly. I did not grow up as a violent child, nor am I an angry or violent man, but I grew up in a major city where you had to be willing to defend yourself to live a peaceful life, as strange as that may sound. As a male, he will be judged by other males and will be better off if he knows how to ethically defend himself. My father taught us never to bully or take advantage of others, but never miss a chance to stand up for yourself or others when the moment calls for it. I remember my parents often ignoring our fights on the street when we were children. They failed in many other ways, such as instilling emotional intelligence, but I believe a specifically male skill to learn is to expect conflict and be trained on how to successfully and ethically handle it. Story 6. Give them permission to defend themselves and let them know you have their back if they ever have to. I took a lot of criticism that I shouldn't have because I was scolded when I defended myself. This really destroyed my sense of self-worth and self-confidence. I've told my son that if he's ever being picked on, he needs to try to resolve the conflict with words. But I also understand the physical nature and pecking order behavior of boys. If he ever has to defend himself physically, I will support him and he will never get in trouble for it. Story 7. I think it is very important for boys to have an appreciation and relationship with their masculinity. This often comes from a male role model, but it can also come from genuine self-love. He is a boy and later he will be a man, and he will not be comfortable with that if he starts with an outside perspective. Masculinity has been demonized in recent history, but it definitely exists. If he does not have a positive understanding of what that is, he will be vulnerable to deceivers with a strong message. He will have experiences and lessons that will give him perspective that you do not have. If you make sure he is comfortable and secure in who he is as a man, he will be protected from the toxic excesses of masculinity because they conflict with its gentle and protective aspects. Story 8. This is a hard one to describe, but make sure he knows he is needed in your home and in your community. A common concern is that society has decided it does not need men as much anymore. In your home, he should know that he is a critical part of your family. Give him responsibilities appropriate to his abilities. These may include chores that help the entire household. When he is given these responsibilities, allow him to complete them his way. If he is doing something dangerous, such as mixing ammonia and bleach, intervene immediately. However, if he is simply doing it in a way you would not, but it gets the job done, that is none of your business. When he finishes his tasks, thank him. Let him know he is a vital part of your home and that he is needed. Story 9. As simple and helpful as this is, just let them be boys. Let them do silly things, hurt themselves, and be physical because that is how we learn. The School of Hard Knocks has a very good graduation rate. Story 10. Support him, but do not let him develop resentment and suffer consequences when he wants to do something unwise. Story 11. Let children of any gender take risks. This is something that fathers are traditionally better at than mothers. Story 12. Consider rough play and physical activity. Pick children up. Throw them around. Wrestle with them. This is important for their development. Story 13. Not so much one piece of advice as there are many to give. So, in no particular order, teach them about consequences and the importance of taking time to make decisions. Teach them how to communicate with everyone and about the 5-second rule of not reacting immediately to something someone has said. If they hear something contentious, encourage them to spend 5 seconds thinking before reacting. Teach them that not every act of kindness will be rewarded, and it is okay if it is not, as that reflects more on the person receiving it than the person giving it. Teach them that while the world can occasionally be cruel and harsh, they do not have to be cruel and harsh themselves to live in it. As others have said, let them have access to a male role model, someone they can confide in if needed and who can guide them when required. Story 14. Let them help with household cleaning. For example, do not clean their room for them, but have them clean it. Give them tasks here and there. Annoying as it may be, my parents did this, and it has helped me a lot once I moved into my own place. Story 15. Understanding the intense energy inside a boy has been hard for my mom friends. They are like dogs, you have to run them. Let them bash some things with a stick, throw some rocks in the water, or dig a hole, and they will be able to control themselves a little better. Story 16. Male, no father. Raised by lesbians. No two boys are the same, so your experience may vary. Direct message me if you want. They will need a positive male role model. This could be an uncle, cousin, educator, community leader, sports mentor, or someone else. Boys will interact with their world physically, whereas many girls do not. They will push boundaries and find exactly where they fit into their world. Boys need to be the heroes of their own stories. Anger is an emotion that develops with puberty and is easily expressed. Many women I know think of anger as a secondary emotion, where loneliness, sadness, or something else triggers it, and anger is simply the response. But for me, at least, anger was the first emotion expressed, and it took decades to discover the emotions beneath it. Developing emotional intelligence and a vocabulary to understand our feelings can be very helpful. Men and women are just different, and that is okay. Children are different. You are going to do great. Hard times will come, but eventually you will move on. Cherish the good times. They will love you. One will be ma, one will be mommy. Story 17. Teach them consequences. Do not coddle them. They need to learn that a boy becomes a man through learning from his mistakes. Story 18. The optimal amount of social media is none, but that is unrealistic. It is important to be careful when raising boys because the algorithms promote alt-right rabbit holes for young boys, especially if they feel like they are having a matriarchal upbringing. Avoid influencers such as Aiden Ross, Andrew Tate, the Paul brothers, Sneeko, Joe Rogan, and grind content creators. Keep your son away from these individuals at all costs. Story 19. Give them challenges to figure things out themselves, but get ready for unwise ideas. They need physical activity in their lives. They will run and hit things just to understand them. It is very hard for a boy under 10 to learn something just because someone told him. They usually have to learn by doing. They learn and build confidence by doing things themselves. They are both inexperienced and independent. You can give a direct instruction, and they may ignore it. Always be ready for them to make unwise choices. They need to see the consequences to learn anything, so give them the space to fail. Be ready for chaos. More importantly, let them learn how they are responsible for the main outcomes in their lives. Story 20. They just need to be seen and loved. Life will be very confusing for them. Strong male and female role models are important. The former will be lacking at school, especially in the early years. There will be much talk of toxic masculinity, feminism, and other ideologies. None of those issues matter as much as a loving home, parents who are present, good diet and sleep patterns, and security. There is huge pressure on young men to be the alpha male, which is nonsense. There is also huge pressure to be the perfect feminist, which is also nonsense. Let them find themselves. Let them be free. Feed their curiosity. Story 21. Find a healthy male role model for them. Children without fathers do not do very well on nearly every front. Story 22. My lesbian friends advise that we also do not always know what we are doing. Having a bike, joining scouts, and having a parent helping allows children to take safe risks, climb trees, make things, explore, and have a second non-competitive friendship group when school is challenging. Story 23. I had two mothers growing up. The best part was them allowing me to explore different hobbies and discover for myself who I am and who I want to be. I understand that at the end of the day, you are their mother, but you have to let some things go and allow them to learn on their own. Story 24. I am a father of boys and was a mentor to a boy with lesbian parents, so I can share some thoughts. As a parent, I feel that my most important and hardest job is modeling good behavior. It is definitely true that boys have a special need for rough and tumble play. Boys need, just as much as girls, to know that they are valuable regardless of what they can provide for other people. They need safety, belonging, and to be empowered to advocate for themselves. Story 25. Never use terms like all men, patriarchy, or other words that express hatred toward men and masculinity. Remember, people generally live up to the expectations their parents have for them. Story 26. Please let your boys know it is okay to have emotions. Never say boys do not cry or man up, because that will negatively affect their mental health into adulthood. Story 27. Be rough. Boys need wrestling and fighting. Throw them onto the back cushions of the couch so they plop down onto the seat. Beat them with the Christmas wrapping paper tube. Hit them with the pillow so hard they fall over. It is really obvious when boys do not get this stimulation growing up, but it is so essential in my book. It teaches us what our tolerances are and makes it clear when something is fun and in jest versus actually meant to hurt us. It also gives us real-time feedback when something we do has hurt someone for real. In my opinion, it is the most essential part of boyhood growing up. Story 28. Boys need physical exertion like a puppy. Take them to the park and let them run. Sports will be your salvation. Teen years can be difficult. Half the bloodstream is testosterone, and one feels vaguely upset all the time without any clear reason. Erections can be spontaneous and awkward. Girls are fascinating, but without money and confidence, it is difficult. Story 29. Teach them about asking girls out when they become teenagers and how to deal with rejection. Never laugh at their problems in this area. I once told my parents I liked a girl and asked what to do about it. They offered me no advice but made fun of me for weeks. After that, I never told them about the girls I liked again. Don't get me wrong, they were decent parents, but when it came to love, they were never comfortable talking about it and offered no advice. Story 30. He is going to make some poor decisions. Some of them will be his fault, and he will try to avoid responsibility. In these cases, you should support his teachers. Other situations may be beyond his control, and he will have tried his best to improve them. In those instances, you should support him. It is up to you to determine which situation applies. Story 31. Appreciate and celebrate their masculinity. There was a mother recently saying the difference between her boys and girl was astronomical. The boys were loud, disruptive, and physical, engaging in play fighting, while the girls preferred to play quietly. She used to tell the boys off regularly, but then realized it was not their fault. It was just how they expressed themselves. So she let them be boys, be loud, and gave them space to run around and be physical. Story 32. Let him guide his extracurricular activities. Allow me a bit of stereotyping when I say a couple of women would have first-choice activities and sports different from yours. Contact sports I'm torn on. In our late teens, we were sitting around discussing why scuffles and such were much more common with us in summer. We decided it was likely because in winter we trained for rugby twice a week and played once a week. It was a healthy outlet for our testosterone. Testosterone is new to teens, and it takes a while to learn how to deal with it. I can't wholeheartedly recommend contact sports though. I'm 49 and have niggles associated with my rugby days. Maybe soccer or anything that physically expends you. Story 33. Remember that you are ultimately raising a man. Your instinct might be to always pamper and shield him, but nobody likes a mama's boy. He needs practice overcoming adversity and solving problems for himself. Story 34. You might have to teach him to urinate standing up. Another same-sex female couple I met told me that their son did not understand he could just do that. Story 35. Find a good male role model for them. No matter how great of a mother you are, a boy still needs one. I grew up without a male role model, and it seriously affected me. Story 36. Male role models are very important. Boys need as much time as possible with grandfathers, uncles, male sports coaches, or male friends you trust. They also benefit from a variety of female role models, but that is probably less important because they have you and your partner. Another common misconception some women have about boys is that when you put a diaper on a baby boy, the penis points down toward his feet, not up unless you want a big mess the next time he urinates. Story 37. Some positive male role model in his life. I am sure you will do amazing, but he is going to grow into a man. The journey of growing into a man for a boy is different from the journey of growing into a woman for a girl. Having a positive male role model of any kind, someone he can look up to and learn how to act and behave as a healthy and decent man in society, is good for him. I would give the same advice to a same-sex male couple raising a daughter. She will need a positive female role model as well. Story 38. I was raised by and around women, as my single mother ran a salon. There is nothing in that experience alone that I would trade, but my mother is a bigoted reactionary, so she placed a bunch of ideas about what masculinity should be on my young shoulders. I doubt you will have the same problems since you are already asking questions. Teach them that they can be strong and tough without being macho or only a provider. Story 39. Make sure that when you say, "You are just like your father," it is a compliment every time. Keep peroxide on hand because there will be blood. It will get on something. Provide plenty of physical outlets for energy. Walks, sports, parks. Let them run it all out all the time. They will fight each other. They most likely will not cause each other lasting physical damage. One day you will walk into your kitchen, and there will be a man standing there. That is your son. Do not hit him. There will never be enough food. When you think there is more than enough, there will not be enough. Nothing ends a long shower like hearing their mother's voice. There is so much more, but they are amazing. Story 40. I am neurodivergent, so my advice may be overly specific, but here goes. 1. Not every problem is yours to fix, but if you have the time and energy, it is good to offer to help. There are no jobs, hobbies, or interests that make you more of a man than any other, and you are no less of a man than anyone else. If you grow up to be strong, use that strength to lift those who are not. If you grow up to be a genius, use your intellect to help those who are not. Caring about others takes courage. Pay no mind to those who say otherwise. It is okay to not be okay, and it is good to have the courage to speak up and let the people who care about you know you are not okay. Do not forget to have fun. Story 41. Make sure they have a positive and strong male role model to look up to. You can choose that person, be it a coach, one of your brothers, your dad, or your partner's brothers or dad, based on the type of person you want your boy to become. He needs to be strong ethically and morally, as well as able to make a positive impression on your child. This is one of the essential aspects of raising any child, especially a boy. Remember, boys are easier to raise but harder to keep safe, whether through risky behavior such as building a ramp to bike off or experiencing severe depression. Men are 3 times more likely to die by suicide than women in the United States, based on 2022 and 2023 data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Teach consent as early as possible and give him the ability to say no and have it respected. If he says no to something and you violate that no, he will think that is acceptable and may do the same to others. Story 42. Around age 11 to 12, knock, announce yourself, knock again, and then say, "I'm coming in now." Don't ever talk about it or acknowledge it. Before that age, in general, boys are kind of dumb and rough, so go easy on them doing blatantly stupid things as long as they aren't serious enough to injure or maim. Hug him and tell him it's okay to have feelings and never put that "be a man" idea on him. He's going to get intensely interested in some hobby, fictional universe, book, or something at some point and will want to share every last detail with you. Listen, smile, and if you can't be interested, fake it as best you can. He's sharing with you because he loves you, and if you act bored or shrug him off, he may start thinking he and his interests are just a burden other people have to deal with, and that mindset is difficult to change later in life. Story 43. They will eventually start self-stimulating when puberty hits, especially in their teenage years. So when that time comes, start knocking on their bedroom doors before opening them, and do not try to punish them for it. Obviously, do not let them develop an addiction, but let nature take its course with them. Thank me later. Story 44. Find a male role model. I have met quite a few lesbian women, and none of them fit that role, even those who speak with a deep voice and wear their hair short. Story 45. This is a truly interesting question. The first thing it makes me wonder is the issue that you don't have an idea of what being a man is like? Or is it that you don't know what being a heterosexual woman looks like? Both are reasonable but very different. The former is about how men have to face the world and how the world sees men. As women, you may not have access to that information firsthand. The latter is about understanding how heterosexual cisgender men are valued by their heterosexual cisgender partners. As lesbians, you may not have access to that either. I would think you would want to ask both heterosexual cisgender communities, since statistically, your son is likely to be heterosexual cisgender, unless you specifically intend on raising him to be gay. Story 46. Children, regardless of gender, need both a mother and a father figure. It may help to have more uncles involved in their lives or a stepfather. Their involvement does not have to be frequent. Story 47. They are not defective little women when they are loud, cannot sit still, or are aggressive. Boys are almost a different species, and their energy needs to be harnessed and directed, not suppressed. That is where male role models or sports come in. Also, most therapy is designed by women for women, so be cautious of advice that suggests treating boys like defective girls. Boys need to know it is okay to be emotional, but they cannot live in their emotions as women can. That was a problem I had with therapy and general emotional advice. Story 48. Hopefully, it is not too late for them. Do not circumcise them. Teach them that it is mutilation and treat any ailments of their genitals without having someone remove parts of them. Young American boys need this kind of protection from their parents. Story 49. Have them play a variety of sports while growing up, such as soccer, football, baseball, basketball, and wrestling. Make sure they understand the value of both physical play and exercise. Let them learn how to get rough and dirty, as that helps them fit in with other boys, which is vital to their socialization. Story 50. If they are in the bedroom and the door is closed, knock and wait before entering. It will most likely save you both a lot of embarrassment. Story 51. Make sure an uncle is involved. If you are a lesbian hoping to have a child, would it be possible for your partner's brother to be your sperm donor so that you can share genes through your offspring? Or vice versa? Or maybe some other male relative? I think it can be potentially damaging for a complete stranger to be the biological father. A family friend is the next best option. Story 52. You need to get children outside to wear themselves out. Living in cities makes it hard, but they need wide open spaces to run and play with other children. Enroll them in summer camps, fishing trips, and take them camping. Not just once a summer, but all summer long. Story 53. Roughhouse play is important. Children wrestle, push, and jump. They need to know how to do it safely and where the boundaries are. Story 54. You seem to have a good head on your shoulders, so you'll probably do fine, but I'll give the advice anyway. Male role models are essential. Male sexuality and ambition need to be refined, not damaged, regardless of personal feelings. Becoming highly accomplished to impress others is normal, not sexism. Sharing embarrassing secrets damages trust. Males are often undervalued and easily ostracized and punished, making reputation and protecting vulnerabilities critical. To stop a boy from doing something, he must understand the explicit consequences to himself or others. Consequences must affect something he values or have direct personal impact. Social disapproval alone is insufficient because yielding to it can appear as weakness and cause loss of respect if morality seems based only on social pressure rather than core principles. Male traits can be dangerous if unrefined, but trying to eliminate them is a serious mistake that prevents trust. Instead, treat these traits as responsibilities to be used for others. Do not shame a boy for natural curiosity or tolerance of dangerous, unpleasant, or sexual topics. Teach him to handle them responsibly to make others feel safe, especially regarding pornography. His natural curiosity and tolerance about pornography should become a responsibility to protect others from harmful ideas and distressing images. This applies generally. Other examples include assigning chores that are unpleasant or involve heavy lifting. One case involved boys in substance abuse treatment who helped empty rat traps, which made them feel useful as their parents were uncomfortable with the task. Psychologist Rob Henderson highlights a moment when his foster parents required him to get up early and chop firewood because they were too tired. This was key in his development. Minor fights and learning to defend themselves physically are essential. Most people are basic in instinct. Men often struggle to respect one who cannot defend himself, and women often struggle to feel attracted to men who cannot. Encourage contact sports with low risk of head injury, such as wrestling or jiu-jitsu, and weightlifting when older to build comfort with physical confrontation. Never make a boy feel betrayed by family. Be firmly on his side whenever possible. Punish him or accept reasonable punishments from legitimate authority figures if needed to discourage repeated misbehavior, but always maintain your support. Frame punishment as a price paid to do the right thing and restore those harmed, not as rejecting who he is. Stop any misandry immediately if you want a meaningful relationship. Becoming immune to emotional cruelty from women is part of growing up, but boys can be vulnerable to it, especially from mothers or teachers. Let boys take risks and fail. Do not do their responsibilities for them. Story 55. Have an adult male in their lives. They need an uncle, an older cousin, a grandfather, or a family friend. An adult male who can be a good influence on them and teach them about being a man. They need this perhaps more than anything else you can provide. Their futures as men can be positively or negatively influenced by this. Story 56. Treat them with the value of respecting women. Be willing to see and hear them. Knowing they feel seen and heard will work wonders. Let them know that not everyone will understand their parents' relationship, and this might bring some tough times at different stages. Help them find safe, positive male role models through sports, martial arts, or interests like fishing, woodworking, and working on cars. These help provide someone they can trust and relate to. Being a boy at any age is difficult, and the most important thing is seeing how other men manage their emotions. This is not to say that women could not do a great job of raising a man without a male figure in the immediate family, but there are differences. Having good, solid people who they know and can trust can only be beneficial. I am straight, married, and have a boy and a girl. We have worked hard to find them various male and female role models through friends, clubs, and martial arts. This hopefully gives them enough elements to build their own expectations and ways of dealing with things. Of course, I think I am a great role model, but my father was a complete waste of skin and oxygen. I had to find role models from teachers and characters in films. Story 57. I may not have said it properly, but I was speaking on behalf of the fundamentals. That may or may not apply. Story 58. Try to introduce them to sports, not to become a professional, but to learn valuable skills and build confidence. Story 59. Sign them up for interesting activities like sports, martial arts, and Boy Scouts. Having some positive male role models will be important for their development. Story 60. A male role model is key. My godson has lesbian mothers, and they are phenomenal. However, finding comfort in taking on a male role is difficult without clear expectations such as support, security, chivalry, and respect. Gender roles are typically challenging to approach with unconventional family structures, but it is okay to talk about them. Also, be aware that it can be difficult even with a baby. Do not be shocked when changing diapers. You will do great as long as you love the child and are there for them. Story 61. Physical activity is important. They will share when they are ready. Do not pester them to give you information they should be sharing. Story 62. Get children involved in sports early. They do not have to be amazing, but they may be picked on if they cannot throw and catch. The stronger the bonds they make, the better their defense against bullies. There will be bullies, especially if their parents are typical. Teach them self-defense or have someone teach them. Boys may come to blows at some point. They should know how to defend themselves. They will probably never say and may not ask, but erections happen frequently through the early to mid-20s. It is normal and not a problem. Story 63. Try to encourage and foster a sense of curiosity. The world is a big place, and there are many interesting things to learn. A passion for learning can open numerous doors that one otherwise wouldn't even know existed. Guide them toward things that give them a sense of purpose or something they are passionate about. A sense of purpose can go a long way toward building self-esteem. Teach them that it is okay to try something new and decide they do not like it. It is better to have given it a shot and know than to have never tried at all. Teach them that everything has consequences, for better or worse, immediate or long-term, and that these are not always obvious. It is very easy to learn from other people's mistakes. Do not excuse or enable bad behavior. Teach them that if they wrong someone, it is their responsibility to make it right, and that a simple "I'm sorry" might not be enough. Teach them about privacy, safety, and security. An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. Not everything can be avoided, but much can if you know what to look for. Social situations can be complex. Help them learn how to tell the difference between what they can control and what they cannot, and that even if they cannot control something, they can control how they react to it. Ultimately, do your best and encourage them to do their best. Even if it is not perfect, it is something they will appreciate as they grow older and meet people whose parents obviously did not try. Reputation is a strange thing, and you often cannot control it. For better or worse, the things you do will be judged by others, and who you are will be different in every other person's mind. Keep that in mind, but do not let it burden or limit who you are. Story 64. Treat them like human beings, no more and no less. Everyone is harming children because they do not view them as human beings. They see them as signifiers of a gender role, who are either blamed for their gender or expected to fulfill the weight of expectations related to their gender. There is no unique guidance that boys need that girls do not also need, aside from how society treats them. Others will treat your boys differently because they are boys. Having a male role model or loved one can help them learn how to navigate this difficult world in ways they might not learn from women who do not understand men's struggles. Story 65. Have them do something physical where they can learn the strength of their bodies and how to apply it in a healthy way. They need to learn how strong they can be and how to control their strength. Whether that is something like boxing or just doing heavy manual labor or volunteering, it will build their self-confidence and make them more well-rounded. Young children, approximately 3 to 8 years old, learn this from roughhousing with parents, usually fathers. Older children and young adults need to learn this with more structure because at this age they can start to actually hurt people. When I was 20, I used to box with men in public housing who were being taken off the streets from addictions. Over a year or two, I saw these men go from disrespectful individuals and addicts to well-rounded people who were confident enough to avoid fights and assert their values to themselves and those around them. I changed in a similar way too. It helped to have positive role models around as well. Story 66. Try not to act like cool parents. Be open about your thoughts. Criticize them when you feel the need, but still give them the freedom to act. Boys tend to listen to and care for their mothers the most. Story 67. Roughhouse with them when they are young. Get them involved with groups of competitive sports or other activities where they can express themselves physically. Love them as best you can, but know that you are still human. Give them and yourself some grace. Story 68. They need a male role model of some kind. In reality, you can try to understand what they will go through, but you will not fully comprehend it. Get the boys involved in activities where they can meet other males in a setting that encourages friendship and camaraderie. Men will express their emotions most comfortably with other men because they understand each other. This is the best way to display masculinity in a healthy and positive manner, rather than being told it is toxic and bad. Such negative labeling only causes harmful behaviors to grow, making them bitter because they see themselves as bad. Guys with the right role model can be masculine and also the most wholesome and genuine human beings. Nurture is very important. Story 69. I say this with as much love as I can to another lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender person, but one trend I notice with many lesbians is that they tend to isolate themselves in social groups that are exclusively lesbians or bisexual women. If there is a man, he is often the flamboyant cliché. Boys need positive male role models. I am not saying you are like this, as you are the exception among lesbians I have known, but it is just something to be mindful of. Story 70. Men communicate to share information, and they also experience fewer emotions in a given day. So if he tells you something and there is not a lot of feeling behind it, it does not mean that it is not important to him. Story 71. Something simple, but emphasize the importance of putting the toilet seat down. I grew up with two siblings assigned female at birth, and early on, my parents told me how important it was to put the seat down after using the bathroom. Not just for home life, but to be a decent member of society, it is essential. Boys growing up would never do this unless told, and it is important. Story 72. The world will not be as gentle or kind to them as it was to you. Be cautious about advising them to rely on empathy or compassion from others. Story 73. Use positive reinforcement instead of negative reinforcement wherever possible. They will do whatever gets them attention. Do not try to make them understand emotions or be overly emotional. Let them be carefree as long as they respect people who respect them. If their mood seems elevated, check their diet for refined sugar, processed food, or potential stressors such as gluten, soy, and lactose. Story 74. I'd say, remember that boys are just people at the end of the day. Help him learn to understand himself. Teach him how to listen and how to respond to his emotions. Show him that you care about him and that he is not alone. Help him develop a healthy sense of self and help him shape a life he wants for himself. Most importantly, listen to him. Do not just lecture. Do not just make demands, no ultimatums. Treat him like a person so he learns he is one and learns how to treat others. Story 75. Involve a man in your boy's life. He will need a male role model if you want him to grow up healthy and well-adjusted. Story 76. Making sure he understands he is not entitled to sex with a woman. Not with a male either, of course, but not feeling entitled to sex toward women is more culturally needed. The only time you can be upset or pouty about someone saying no to you sexually is if you have already paid the sex worker. Get your money back and go home. Story 77. There is too much essentialism around male role models. Too much women can't understand. That itself is already bad role modeling. Children do not need a role model. They need a village, a support structure able to meet the needs of the child as expressed by the child. The nuclear family cannot do that unless you are wealthy, and even then it is limited. Relying on one person or one role model cannot fulfill that need. Statistically, being raised by lesbians significantly reduces the likelihood of sexual abuse to nearly zero, and the likelihood of physical and emotional abuse is greatly decreased. In general, we would all have been better off being raised by mothers. Story 78. Your gender matters very little compared to the way in which you raise children. Give it your best effort. They are going to have issues regardless of what you do. Boys vary widely in age and personality type. Some might recommend sports, but that will not help if they are a nerdy homebody. The biggest recommendations are maintaining a sleep schedule, encouraging movement, and promoting social engagement. Sleep is important for everyone, especially children and teenagers. 8 to 10 hours is ideal, but exceeding that can be harmful long-term. 4 hours of REM sleep is recommended. Movement is important. This could be sports, housework, or playing virtual reality games when they are older. Keeping the body active is essential. Social isolation is a big issue if they have trouble making friends or develop relatively shallow friendships. Being socially engaged and preventing self-isolation is important. For boys, if they are intact, They must wear underwear when wearing clothes with zippers such as jeans and onesies. Regardless of circumcision status, hygiene is important. Instill general safety even during teenage years. Sharing location with someone is important. Not leaving drinks unattended is crucial. And not walking down a dark street alone when intoxicated is essential. People often forget to remind older boys to be safe, but being mindful of surroundings in any situation is a vital life skill. Also, you are likely to get better information from a subreddit like parenting. This is a very common question. Story 79. You are severely under-equipped to understand them. You think you know them, and while you do, you also do not to a greater degree. Teenage boys are a runaway train of hormones and emotions, none of which can or ought to be examined too closely. Story 80. Make sure very early on they learn to respect women and understand that no matter what they do, being kind does not always result in reward. Story 81. Get him around strong male role models, not effeminate men. There are things you will not be able to teach him. He will be expected to exist among other adult men someday. If he grows up with only women or around weak men, he will have a rough time. Boys and girls are different. You cannot raise one like the other. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.